What's up, nerds? My name is Cory Bergeron. You're watching Cory Bergeron Recordings, and we're back with a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I use parallel compression in my productions to make things sit where I want them to sit. I've been using parallel compression for years, and it instantly was a game changer once I started applying it, and this is something that I do on every single session. Doesn't matter if I'm working on a hip-hop song or a metal track, anything in between, I will use parallel compression. Normally, I use it on drums and vocals, but I've also gotten creative and used it on guitars and synthesizers. So in this video, I'm going to show you two examples. One, how I use parallel compression on drums, and two, how I use parallel compression on vocals. But first, if you plan on releasing music soon, I recommend using the service DistroKid. DistroKid is a service that gets your music on all the major online music stores and streaming services. That includes Spotify and Apple Music and 150 other places. For just a low annual fee, you can upload as much music as you want, and you get to keep 100% of your royalties. So if you plan to sign up, consider using my link www.distrokid.com/VIP/whatsupnerds, and you can save 7% when you sign up. It's a good thing. You save money, it supports the channel, life is good. Let's get back into the video. So in front of me here, I have a Pro Tools session, and in this Pro Tools session, I have drums and I have a vocal performance. So the drums are here in red, and let me just go ahead and play these for you so you know what we're working with. Cool, so that's the verse there. And let me just play something where the cymbals are bashing. Cool, so you can hear it, they're drums, they sound good. You can see that I've done some processing over here in the mix window. I've gone through, I've EQ'd and compressed stuff. It sounds good, but I want to add parallel compression. Why do I want to add parallel compression? Well, I'm concerned that when I add the bass guitar and the guitars and the vocals, that my kick, snare, and toms might get a little buried. So I want to use parallel compression to compress the shells of the drums to have them be a little bit more consistent in the production. So let's go through, and I'm going to show you how I would go about adding parallel compression to my drums. So over here we have this track that's called decomp, and that's what I'm going to use to create the parallel compression. The input is decomp, and for it to be a parallel compression track, we need to add a compressor to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the SSL comp. Now, it doesn't matter what compressor you use, it does matter what the parameters of that compressor are. So if you're using a stock plugin, you can go ahead and just kind of copy my parameters. Normally in audio, I wouldn't say to just copy my settings, but when it comes to parallel compression, you're usually going for the same kind of sound. So you can go ahead and copy these, you'll get in the ballpark, and then you can tweak them to taste. It does not matter what compressor you use. Now, to make things even easier for myself, I just have a preset that I go to. This is something I created a long time ago. It usually does the trick. Oftentimes I don't even touch it. And what that preset is a 10:1 ratio, which is basically the highest ratio that this compressor has. The slowest attack, which lets the transients through, which is good. Adds that snap at the start of all the drum hits. I have the fastest release, which is good, so it's really pumpy. And then the threshold and the makeup just are at a level where it's compressing and then it's turning the volume back up. Okay, so let's go on back over to our drums here. Now, the goal of this is I want to compress just the shells. If I start compressing the cymbals, it's going to become this pumpy, disgusting mess, and it's probably one of the fastest ways you can go about destroying your mix. That's not what we want to do. I just want to compress the shells. When I say the shells, I just mean the kick, snare, and toms. So I'm going to go to my kick track here, and I am going to create a send that's going to the D comp. Now, I'm going to shoot the send up to unity. I'm going to shoot it to 0, and I'm going to hit FMP. FMP means follow my pan, so it doesn't really do anything on the kick track, but once I copy this over to the tom, you'll see that it follows the pan, the same pan position that is on the track. So that's good. That keeps things nice and clean. So I'm going to place this on the kick, snare, and toms, which I've done here. Okay, so I'm going to press play, and then I'm going to start rolling up this fader here, and you're going to hear what it's like to have the shells of the drums being sent to a separate aux track that has aggressive compression on it, and you're going to hear what that does to my drum mix. So let's check it out. We're going to go from this verse 2 part. Okay, so I just turned it on and off there a little bit. So what I'm hearing is that the shells sound a lot more consistent across the board. They're a little bit more upfront, a little bit more in your face. All are good things when you're working on rock music. Let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to just copy these sends over to my samples. So I have a kick sample, a snare sample, and then the tom samples as well. And we're not going to think, we're just going to throw the send over here. It has the follow my pan on, and the send is at unity. And let's bring this all the way back down to 0, and let's do the same thing again. Big difference, okay? So with it, the drums sound more aggressive, more in your face, more punchy, more consistent, all good positive adjectives. And without it, it starts to lose that punch. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the bass and the guitars, and then I'm gonna toggle the drum parallel compression on and off, and listen to how the drum mix interacts with the entire track. So let's play this bridge section over here. I'm gonna mute the parallel compression, and I'm gonna turn this up. Let's go from over here, actually. Yeah. Okay, so drum parallel compression, very straightforward. I'm just sending the shells to an aggressive compressor and then blending that into taste, and that is helping my shells stay consistent. Not very hard, you can do it with a stock compressor. Try it out on your mix if you don't already do this. Let me move forward and show you an example with a vocal. So, I'm gonna just mute the drums for now. Let me play this vocal performance here. This is a vocal performance by my friend Brian, and I have a little bit of processing, little EQ compression, stuff like that on it. Let's check it out.
I'm riding the ocean, blindly heading towards the eye of the storm, forgiving, God willing, land of the living, help me make my way home.
Awesome. So you can hear it's an amazing performance. You know, Brian is an amazing singer, very dynamic. You can hear very subtle, intimate parts, you know, really breathy parts, and then he really digs in on some of those lines. Now, if I was to go as is and try and get this vocal to sit properly in a mix, I'm going to have a tough time because it's really dynamic. So I can go through and I can try and compress the individual track more, but then I might over-compress the parts where he's digging in to get the breathy parts up, or I'll compress the loud parts appropriately, and then the little breathy nuance parts will get lost in the mix. Both things not ideal. So we are going to use parallel compression on the vocal to help get that vocal to sit at a consistent level in our mix. So I have this V-comp track here. The input is V-comp, which is just my vocal parallel compression. Let's go through and let's choose a different compressor for this, just to show you how, you know, the type of compressor doesn't super matter. And I have a little template here. So this is the Monster, which is part of the Slate VMR. So this is just like a super aggressive plugin. It's an 1176 with all the buttons in. I have a slow attack, but it's a little closer to medium than on the other compressor I had there. I have the input all the way up. What is interesting and unique about this compressor, I mean, it's on a bunch of compressors, but there is a high-pass filter on it. So anything under 120 hertz is not going to hit this compressor, which is really good for vocals because you don't want any low-end rumble or sub or anything that shouldn't be there setting to this compressor because it's going to make it pump super hard. We don't want that. So I'm not going to touch a single knob. This is my vocal parallel compression setting, and I'm going to create a send here on the track to the V-comp, and I'll hit the follow my pan just for fun, I'm going to shoot the send all the way up to unity, which is going to hit my compressor super hard, which is good. And then I'm going to use the fader on the track to set how much of it I want in my mix here. So let's play it without any context. Let's just play the vocal, and I'll start mixing this fader in, and you can hear the effect that it is creating.
I'm riding the ocean, blindly heading towards the eye of the storm, forgiving, God willing, land of the living, help me make my way home.
Love it. To me, it doesn't sound like it's overcompressed or, anything bad is happening. But what I am hearing is that breathy, airy, intimate stuff is coming up, which is great. So I'm hearing all that detail in the vocal, getting to a point where it'll just sit in the mix, which is great. So I'm going to actually turn this fader all the way down. I'm going to throw the drums and the bass and guitar back into the mix. And then I will throw the vocal parallel compression in there so you can hear what it does. And yeah, we'll go from there. So this is the vocal without parallel compression with the instrumental.
I'm riding the ocean, blindly heading towards the eye of the storm, forgiving, God willing, land of the living, help me make my way home.
Not terrible, but the vocal's definitely not sitting where I want it to. So let's do the same thing, play it again, and I'm going to start throwing this fader up, and we're going to hear how it sounds.
I'm riding the ocean, blindly heading towards the eye of the storm, forgiving, God willing, land of the living, help me make my way home.
Cool. So you can instantly hear the difference it's making. That vocal now sits. You're hearing all this beautiful breathy stuff.
Forgiving, God willing, land of the...
You can even get real crazy here. You can throw this reed on, and let's turn this breath down so it's not hitting the parallel compression.
Forgiving, God willing, land of the living.
There you go. That is how I use parallel compression on drums and vocals. There's no big secret to it. I do basically the same things that you just saw in this video across all of my productions. Sometimes you can get creative with it. You can add distortion to your parallel compression. Sometimes I'll throw a de-esser on my vocal parallel compression if I find that it's accentuating a bunch of the S's, but for the most part, this is all you need. You can do a stock plugin. So I hope you learned something in this video. If you use parallel compression on different elements in your productions, I'd love to hear about what you do and how you go about doing it. And that is basically it for this video. I'm going to plug a couple things. If you want to improve your mixing, head on over to my Patreon. If you sign up, you can download the multi-tracks for all of the songs I've done an In the Mix video on and more. There's even more bonus content over there. So head on over to my Patreon, download those multi-tracks, start practicing your mixing, and that's a great way to improve. If you want to improve your mixing further, you can actually go to my Patreon, and there's a second tier where you can sign up for one-on-one lessons with me. So if you're struggling with any element of, the production process, whether it's vocal tuning, drum editing, or just stuck with a mix and you want to improve, you can do a one-on-one video lesson with me. I can give you actionable feedback on how to improve whatever it is that you're trying to do within, the realm of audio production, and you can get better at your craft, and it's a beautiful thing. So if you want monthly one-on-one lessons with me, head on over to the Patreon. If you have not yet joined my Discord server, be sure to do that. There will be a link below. It is a community of people that like audio production, as well as sometimes I give away some secrets of what my band is up to. And then lastly, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and that is basically it for the video. My name's Cory Bergeron. Create more. Parallel compression. It's a good thing. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.